someone screamed that they needed help, and then I ran over there.
She was just like overpowered, and that's when we felt it was necessary to take action.
I jumped in there and nothing, he was just limp, and I couldn't get a pulse.
And trying to get their head up to get air because it was just, everything was sinking.
I'm thankful for those guys, for all they've done.
When they saw a wrong, they stepped in and made it right.
I was glad that we all got to do what was right in the situation and help her out, because it could have gone a lot worse.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you.
And then she said, I think he took a breath. The best words I've ever heard.
Good morning, and thank you for joining the 35th annual King County Heroes Breakfast. I'm Paula Beadle.
And I'm Kevin O'Keefe. As the Heroes Breakfast co-chairs, we are honored to have you with us today as we celebrate this year's courageous heroes and learn more about the work of the American Red Cross.
While the platform is different, the goal remains the same, and that is to honor and celebrate those individuals who have gone over and above in service to our community, and of course, to raise critical funds for the Red Cross.
The Heroes Breakfast would not be possible without the support of the King County board members and sponsors. Thank you for your commitment to our mission, your participation here today, and of course, your financial contributions. Each is essential to our success.
And now it's time to introduce our Master of Ceremonies. Returning for the 5th year as host of the King County Heroes Breakfast, welcome Kim Holcomb from King 5's Evening Magazine. Kim, the show is yours.
Thank you so much, Paula and Kevin. And hello, everyone. I am Kim Holcomb from King 5's Evening. Welcome to my home. It is so great to be here with you today. Honestly, while so much of the world has kind of turned on its head, being with you this morning brings a sense of calm and normalcy that is very welcome. This is my 5th year hosting the Heroes Breakfast, and it just keeps getting better. And I honestly cannot wait for you to meet the heroes and feel so inspired by their stories today. First, though, I want to thank each of you for logging on with us today. The silver lining of holding a virtual event is that we're able to extend the invitation far and wide. So even right now, as this is just beginning, you can still share this link with your family and your friends. It's not too late for them to join, and we really do invite you to share your love for the Red Cross here in King County and beyond. Okay, today we're going to spotlight 5 stories of triumph and of courage, stories that illustrate the very best of human kindness. We'll also hear from special guests who have given their time, their talent, and their financial donations to support the Heroes Breakfast. While honoring the selfless acts of our local heroes, you will also have the opportunity to support the life-saving mission of the American Red Cross, and we hope you will consider making a gift during our program this morning. Okay, to do that, you're going to look to the left of your screen. There you will find the donation options. Those options will be available throughout the remainder of the breakfast. If you're viewing from a mobile device, you're going to need to exit the full screen, scroll below the video window, and then you can make a donation. Or super easy, you can just text King Heroes, all one word, King Heroes, to 76278. Additionally, an anonymous donor has generously offered a $50,000 challenge match for gifts made as part of the Heroes Breakfast. This special match opportunity is for all donations of $500 or more, so please consider this match as you make your donation. Thank you to our anonymous donor and to all of you at home for supporting the work of the Red Cross. And now it is my pleasure to pass the mic, the virtual mic, as it were, to our first special guest, Northwest Region Chief Executive Officer, Alex Diefenbach.
Good morning. Thank you, Kim. My name is Alex Diefenbach, and as Kim said, I am the Regional CEO for the Northwest Region. Thank you for joining us this morning for our annual Heroes Breakfast as we celebrate together the amazing acts of courage from our honorees. I want to thank Kim for hosting us once again from King 5 and serving as our MC as Paula mentioned, for the 5th consecutive year. And also I want to thank our amazing co-chairs, Paula Beadle and Kevin O'Keefe. And a big shout out as well to our sponsors and to the members of our King County Board who helped make this event a reality. And it struck me, Kim, as you were speaking, even though you look fabulous this morning, I'm sure there's some people out there who are joining us in pajamas or sweatpants. And I think that gives us a theme for next year. So next year, when we gather in a fancy ballroom, I think we should come as we are today. And we can all look forward to seeing some sweatpants and some pajamas and maybe even some bunny slippers as we celebrate together next year in person. You know, it was just before this event last year when we sent our staff members and volunteers home for what we thought would be a short-term disruption. Sadly, we all know how the pandemic has unfolded. At the American Red Cross, the health and safety of those we work with and serve is always our first concern. But when it is needed most, help can't wait. Faced with new challenges, we embraced opportunities to stretch our capabilities and ensure we could continue to serve those in need. In order to continue collecting and providing essential blood products, we adapted to medical guidance, requiring face masks and temperature checks at each of our blood drives, as well as implementing social distancing guidelines and the use of hand sanitizers. Our service to the Armed Forces team also went through major changes so that we could continue to stand strong in support of our military heroes. We also continue to teach life-saving CPR and first aid skills by following public health guidance and offering new COVID-19 specific courses online. But perhaps the biggest area of change involved disaster response and relief. We had to retrain and rethink how we could support our communities in times of disasters. We adapted to the pandemic by providing aid virtually and housing disaster survivors in hotels in order to maintain social distancing. Adapting in this way was no small task as we watched record-breaking storms unfold across the country. In our region, we faced an unprecedented wildfire season that stretched up and down the entire West Coast. From July to early October, the Northwest region responded to more than 15 wildfires. Almost all of those fires started back-to-back over one weekend. This wildfire season, our Northwest region provided more than 1,200 hotel rooms to displaced families. And with the help of volunteers and local restaurants, we served over 8,500 meals. Throughout it all, the spirit of our volunteers and staff members across the region remained strong. I am so proud to be a part of the Northwest region and to be able to work with such an amazing team. So even as we gather this morning to honor our heroes, let's take a look back at this past wildfire season to remember how important it is to be able to provide help and hope in any circumstance to those in need. It is a year and a season none of us will forget. Take a look.
Every fire is a disaster for those affected. The 2020 wildfire season in our region was slow to start and looked like it might not be too severe. But come Labor Day weekend, hopes for a relatively quiet season went up in flames.
Governor Jay Inslee called the fires in western Washington this week catastrophic.
Just one of many burning throughout the state. Governor Inslee declaring a state of emergency in Washington.
Early September was really when things just became just very busy and just a large-scale response.
Greater Inland Northwest Chapter Executive Director Ryan Roden was still new to his job. It was baptism by wildfire.
I'll admit it was overwhelming, just the level of need and the complexity of need.
But you look here and you see the devastation. There was a city hall and there was a fire station, all destroyed by wildfire.
In early September, fires destroyed entire towns in his area.
And the homes also destroyed.
Red Cross teams were responding to the aftermath of multiple wildfires.
Pierce County, where homes have been destroyed by that Sumner grade fire. At this time yesterday, that fire was raging out of control, but firefighters are slowly making progress.
All across our region, families were being displaced from fires, in rural areas to those that were heavily populated. Because of COVID-19 protocols, providing support for these families was complicated, both logistically and financially. Hotel rooms and individually packed meals took the place of large shelter situations. Hotel rooms cost a lot more than a church basement or high school gym.
Donor support helps us provide all of these services, and really just being that immediate, first 2 or 3 weeks after a disaster, that immediate source of support and care. And it's not just physical goods, it's emotional support, it's spiritual support. It's letting them know that, hey, they're not alone in their greatest time of need. And seeing our Red Cross family provide that for folks in need is amazing. And we really could not do it without financial support from folks across the country.
When the smoke cleared, 2020 was the second worst fire season in our region's history, with more than 700,000 acres burned. And the Red Cross was there to provide more than 4,000 nights of emergency housing, 8,500 meals, health care to 1,650 people, and mental health services to 130 more. All of it was paid for by donations.
As bad as the fire season was, unfortunately, it doesn't look like fire seasons are going to get any better. They're predicting, fires to get worse, for wildfire season to be prolonged, for summers to be hotter and drier. And so the need is only going to increase.
You make it possible for the Red Cross to continue to deliver help and hope in the toughest of seasons.
Honestly, gives me goosebumps. What an incredible look back at the year that we just had and the invaluable work that the Red Cross does every time disaster strikes. I honestly love seeing how the hard work and the volunteerism and, of course, the monetary donations all kind of come together so quickly to enable response. This is why every year I encourage you to have some tissues handy, because it can get emotional as we look back on these stories. And after what you've just seen, now would be a meaningful time to make your contribution. Again, just look to the left of your screen and follow the donation options. They will be active and welcoming gifts throughout the remainder of the breakfast. And don't forget that match opportunity for all donations of $500 and above, up to $50,000. Okay, now what do you say that we get to some of these amazing hero stories? Please join me in welcoming presenting sponsor Abe Diaz from Amazon.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Abe Diaz, and I am a Senior Technical Product Manager at Amazon. I am very excited to be joining you all this morning and sharing in the celebration of our local heroes. You already seen a powerful demonstration of the spirit of the Red Cross, the selflessness, determination, and commitment to making the world a better place. These are the same qualities that we look for in the heroes that we celebrate. And no other group exemplifies this better than our first honoree, Ernie Santos Jr. Ernie, congratulations and thank you for the incredible commitment to your community.
The Cold Springs wildfire near Bridgeport, Washington hit at the peak of harvest season. Orchard workers had to be evacuated.
They were all orchard workers, migrant workers from one of the orchards in Bridgeport. They'd been evacuated because of the fire, and so we ended up having them in our shelter for almost a week.
Red Cross shelter manager Cheryl Provors had to feed displaced workers, spending the night at a shelter in Brewster. She wanted something the migrant workers would enjoy, and that was hearty enough to fuel their long day of work in the orchards.
Okay, van a ser 2.29.
Cheryl reached out to La Milpa Market and Restaurant in Brewster.
¿Te ayudo con esas o?
Ernie Santos said of course his restaurant would supply 100 meals by early the next morning. The next question, though, was how? He called his kitchen manager.
I was like, hey, so we got a situation. I know that we're not ready for it because we don't have meat, and the companies aren't really delivering meat. There's so much going on with COVID and the fires, and I was like, what can we do about making like 100 and some lunches? And he's like, we'll figure it out, whatever we can do, you know, we'll get it done.
Ernie's staff did get it done. They started cooking before 5 a.m.
And I was so impressed and kind of got teary-eyed because I was going through a hard situation, and yeah, they got up and they busted their humps to get it done for everybody. So I ended up helping up what I could at the end, and surely enough, a little bit later, Red Cross comes in and picks up the orders, and they were like, wow, like, thank you guys.
When Cheryl arrived that morning to pick up the food, this is what she saw. Ernie shared with her that it was the day of his dad's funeral. Ernesto Santos, owner of the restaurant, beloved coach, city council member, and community volunteer, had just passed away.
And he came out and told me about his dad, on how he had passed away from COVID. And the funeral was that day, and I'm sitting here, I'm so sorry, we didn't need you to do this. He goes, my dad would have kicked my butt if I did not do this for the Red Cross.
My dad's always been one to help people in any situation, whether it's food, sometimes people a place to stay. So immediately I thought, man, my dad would be turning over in his grave, like right now if I said no. And which I wouldn't have said no anyways, because I'm cut from the same cloth as the old man.
Despite going through their own personal tragedy, Ernie and his staff helped their community when the community needed them most.
Just keeping an eye on us, yeah, making sure we do everything right, and que le vaya bien, eh? Igualmente, cuídese.
Ernie thinks his dad would be proud.
I hope so, you know. Just big shoes to fill, but I think he prepared me well.
Wow, people are so good. Congratulations to Ernie and the entire Love Meal Plus staff. You really inspired all of us this morning. Okay, before we meet our next honoree, I would like to recognize our Heroes Breakfast fundraising champions. These individuals embraced our virtual platform, rallied their friends, family, and coworkers to all support this event. They are the reason that many of you are with us right now. So thank you, fundraising champions, for your dedication to the Red Cross. Okay, now on to our next hero recipient. Through my years hosting this event, I have learned that disasters big and small can happen at a moment's notice. This next Hero Award recipient was ready to respond to the call of disaster and more. In a crisis, Tammy McLaughlin acted with tranquility and perseverance and made an unlikely friend in the process.
We were watching limbs fly across, so it was really windy.
It was a stormy December day when Ed and Sally Inderbitson were on their way to check their home on Lost Lake.
And we decided to take a trip down and just check out our place down there on the lake.
They got to a roadblock because of downed trees and power lines.
So I'm sitting there next to Ed, and all of a sudden he steps on the gas. And we're off to the side of the road, so there's just trees. And I turned to just yell at him, "What are you doing?" And he was gone.
Without warning, Ed's heart stopped. His foot hit the gas, which got the attention of volunteer firefighter Tammy McLaughlin at the roadblock.
And we were telling him, stop, stop, and the person didn't stop. The person was coming toward us over the lines, and finally it stopped, and then someone screamed that they needed help, and then I ran over there.
Tammy checked for a pulse, pulled Ed from the car, and started CPR.
Tammy was in her own world. She was oblivious to all of us. And Ed was gone. He was not breathing or responding, anything. So that I could walk from his head around to his feet, and I just said, Breathe. I need you to breathe.
Cycle after cycle with no change. But Tammy did not give up.
So I was in between his vehicle and another one just in case lines came down or a tree branch came on top of us. So at least we were protected. And there was no place for me to move him because there were tree branches, trees along the road, and power lines along the road. So yeah, I put myself into danger, but I'd do that for anybody.
And then she said, I think he took a breath. The best words I've ever heard. The best words I've ever heard.
I mean, she's like part of our life now. I mean, she's a reason for my life.
Ed's going to meet Tammy for the first time. Yes.
This is pretty special.
Ed is alive and well today because Tammy was trained, willing, and right where she was needed. It's hard to tell who needed this moment more.
Oh, you're amazing.
They celebrate the calm after the storm.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
That bonded them for life.
Wow.
Look at you.
Ooh.
Congratulations, Tammy. Such a wonderful story. I wish we could all be together to see another sweet reunion between Tammy and Ed. Good morning. My name is Jane Morrow, and I am the board chair of the King County American Red Cross chapter. Thank you for joining us this morning and for your generous support. As you know, the Red Cross supports our communities in so many different and important ways. One of those missions is blood collection. In fact, the Red Cross provides 40% of our nation's blood supply, ensuring that hospitals have the necessary blood and blood products to save lives. I know that donating blood can seem like a scary thing, and that is one reason why only 3% of eligible Americans donate. The Red Cross makes it easy to donate blood, and with the need being so great, it is something that each of us can do to make a difference.
Why have you never donated blood before?
Intimidated to go in.
Needles are probably green.
Just gonna check your veins.
There's no needles yet. Well, I have a very special helper here today that I think might be able to help you through the process.
Really?
Hi.
Well, hi there.
Are you scared?
A little nervous.
Well, I'm gonna help you get through it today.
You ready to get started?
Hold your hand.
Yes, please. Thank you.
It's okay. If you want to hold my friend AJ, if you can.
Thank you.
Eye contact.
All right.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting cow.
Interrupting cow.
Move. Girl, I love your ripped jeans. Are your knees a little cold?
1, 2,
3.
1, 2.
Dang it.
Miss Emma, you are almost there.
Wow. Girl, you're almost done.
I should bring you every time I get a shot.
Well, there's actually a reason your helper here today is so familiar with the blood donation process.
So I have a blood disease that is called sickle cell anemia type SS. I've been hospitalized over 72 times and have blood transfusions over 70 times. When I was 5 months old, I went into kidney failure. I needed to have a lot of blood transfusions. And when I get the blood transfusions, it makes me feel like I'm me again, like I'm a kid, I can do anything. Thank you for donating from the bottom of my heart. And girl, give me a hug.
Well, I think everything we've talked about that kept my focus the most.
And not only I'm thankful, but my mom is too.
On behalf of whoever's gonna get your blood, thank you so much. It means so much to us. Without you, she would not be here. Thank you so much.
Group hug.
This makes it 1,000,000% worthwhile. I'm literally honored and privileged to be able to do this.
Would you do it again?
I would happily do it again.
I feel like we should pinky promise. You're all done. I can hug you with both arms.
A truly moving video that shows how one donation can impact and potentially help save lives. For me, donating blood took a personal turn when my dear friend and running partner was diagnosed with cancer. Part of her treatment included blood transfusions. Patients fighting cancer use nearly 20% of the nation's blood supply, and 5 units of blood are needed every minute to help someone getting through cancer treatment. For my friend, blood donations are making the difference in her battle against cancer. Most of us likely know someone who has been diagnosed with cancer and is in need of blood. Because blood is perishable, volunteer blood donors are the only source of life-saving blood for patients in need. If you are interested in making an appointment to donate blood, please go to redcrossblood.org or use the QR code on screen to make an appointment today.
Thank you so much for sharing that personal and very important message. So if you are eligible and haven't donated before, perhaps now is the time. Speaking of donations, let's see what kind of financial gifts have been coming in so far this morning. We are so grateful to everyone who has been giving. Here are just a few of the folks who have made gifts to us. Karen and Paul Allen, thank you. David Anderson, thank you. Cheryl Avery, thank you. Doug Bowersock, thank you. Michael Bentley, thank you. The list goes on and on. And once again, if you would like to make a contribution, look to the left of your screen and you will see donation options and you'll be able to make your gift while still viewing the remainder of the breakfast. And remember, one anonymous donor has offered a special match opportunity for all donations of $500 and above, up to $50,000. We've seen some wonderful stories this morning, and I'm excited to keep the show going with this next award. Heroes can range from those who are prepared and ready to take action in a situation, or those who simply feel compelled to step in. And in the case of this next award recipient, Andy Beeler and the Lindsay Foss crew, they were both lucky and prepared to respond to 2 people in need of a hero.
Seattle traffic, Lindsay Foss, Bellingham.
Foss tugboat captain Andy Beeler has worked on the water for 17 years. He has some pretty good stories to tell. But none more important than the one that happened on a windy day near Ferndale last summer, when something shiny caught his eye. His second captain, David, noticed it too.
He says to me, he goes, "What in the world are we looking at over there? What's so shiny?" And I said, I think it's a kayak. There's no way, nobody be in a kayak out right now. And so we drove over a little closer, and sure enough, it was a yellow 2-person kayak.
The kayak had a sail, an outrigger, and 2 people heading back from camping on a nearby island.
I felt uncomfortable seeing them there.
Something told Andy to keep an eye on them.
I didn't see anything for a second, so I pulled up the binoculars, and right at that very moment, I saw that outrigger. The sail was gone, the outrigger was just vertical, and then it went right over, and I realized there was no more kayakers at that point. And I said, "David, go get everybody. We're gonna go get them." So as I approached them, they were both over the top of the kayak holding on, and every wave that came, it was going all over their face. The sail was beating around behind them in the water. They were just constantly trying to grab for it and trying to get their head up to get air, because it was just, everything was sinking on them.
The water was cold, deadly cold.
And there was so much current, so much wind. By the time they flipped over here, we were already down here, just in the minutes that it took me to rescue them.
Andy and his crew got to the couple within minutes, helped them out of the water, and warmed them up. The crew trains for all kinds of emergencies, but this was rare.
In 17 years, I've never been part of an emergency that involved other people's lives. We were very, very fortunate. All of us, every one of us on this boat, and Mickey and Nick, were all very fortunate we were there that day, at that time.
It's a story that could have easily had a tragic ending, if not for a tugboat captain with a sharp eye and an even sharper crew.
Just incredible. Congratulations on your award, Andy and the entire crew. Well deserved. Okay, I'd like to take a moment to recognize another group of folks essential to this event and the local Red Cross, the King County Board. Thank you to each board member for your dedication and your passion to this organization, and for bringing our audiences together this morning. Your support is so greatly appreciated. And now back to our heroes. This group of heroes demonstrates what it means to do the right thing. Thank you to Dominic, Daryl, Kai, Kieran, and Isaiah for your courage and for stepping into the role of heroes in an officer's time of need. Take a look.
This is a story about 5 teenage boys and 1 King County Sheriff's deputy. It's a story that happened at 1 in the morning on a rural road in Auburn as the boys headed home from a party. And it's probably not the story you'd expect.
She's off duty, driving a marked patrol car home, and comes upon this collision, gets flagged down, learns the suspect driver is walking away.
The young men watched as Deputy Jennifer Elliott pursued the suspect.
Here we have, an impaired driver. He has multiple warrants for his arrest. He's driving on a suspended license. There was no interlock in the car, so he has every incentive to get away from her. And he's going to do all he can to make sure that she doesn't get him in custody.
Then he kind of took her to the ground, and then she got on top and started looking like she was going to be all right and be able to detain him. But then he flipped her over and got her in a chokehold, and then she was just overpowered. And that's when we felt it was necessary to take action and put a stop to it.
The suspect had Deputy Elliott in a chokehold.
Yeah, it was bad. We watched it for too long, I feel like. I feel like we should have went in earlier.
Together, the 5 young men ran to help her.
He put her in a headlock, so I had to do it to him, but...
And then I ran up behind him and threw him on the ground, and then my little brother jumped on the back of his head, and I jumped on his back.
They held the suspect down while Deputy Elliott handcuffed him.
I was glad that we all got to do what was right in the situation and help her out, because it could have gone a lot worse.
If we weren't there, I'm sure it could have been way worse for her. She could have probably been dead or something. It would not have been good if we were not there.
What could have been another horrible story on the news wasn't. This one ended with a group hug, and later these written words from the woman the young men helped save.
It has been easy to lose faith in people this year, and I was so touched that these young men chose to help rather than turn their backs or even instigate harm against a police officer. I am grateful beyond words to these young men who helped me go home safely that night. I do believe wholeheartedly that these young men have the hearts and character of heroes. Signed, Jenny, a human and not just a cop.
These young men saw a human who needed help.
I'm glad we were all there.
Someone who, like them, can be stereotyped.
I get a lot of weird looks all the time just because the way I dress. And everybody thinks I'm just some little thug, little gangster kid, but it's the way I dress. But yeah. So it felt good to have like a bunch of posts about me saying, oh yeah, these kids are good and there are good people in this world.
There are good people in this world, heroes all around us.
So amazing. In a normal year, we would all be standing up, standing ovations. So I give you a sitting ovation from my living room. Thank you to those 5 young men for demonstrating that we can all be there to help someone in a time of need. All right, before we watch our final Hero Award recipients, let's take one last look at those donations. Oh, I love to see it. Thank you so much to everyone who's donating, including Grant Shaver, Laura Wilcox, Arthur Jackson, Brad Tilden. You are amazing, everyone. And again, to make a contribution, look to the left of your screen and you'll see the donation options. And again, one more reminder, last one, I promise, but it's a big one, that there's also a special match opportunity for all donations of $500 and above, up to $50,000. All right, now I would like to introduce our final Hero Award recipient. Sometimes a hero is someone who dutifully responds to a call for action, and sometimes it's someone who just happens to be in the right place at the right time with the willingness to help. In this next hero story, it is both who come together to provide life-saving efforts. Jeff Dennis and Deputy Ryan Sprecher are well deserving of the CPR Rescue Award for their teamwork and persistence, which ultimately saved a life. Let's take a look.
And I was just driving for my last load of rock out of the quarry pit there, and I saw that it was a 53-foot trailer sticking out of the trees.
Dump truck driver Jeff Dennis thought a fellow truck driver off the road like this might need help, so he stopped.
Yeah, and I just saw that was odd, and it was still running, and that's when I parked and jumped out and saw Daryl.
Driver Daryl Buckingham was slumped over the wheel.
He was either fell asleep, I was thinking, or, had a heart attack. And then I jumped in there and nothing, he was just limp, and I couldn't get a pulse. And I thought, well, I better get 911 dialed up.
The 911 operator told him to get the driver out of the truck and begin CPR, something Jeff knew from classes over the years.
We'd all say, oh, we got to go to those classes again. And, you never think you're going to use them. But, yeah, it came in handy, and I didn't think twice of doing it.
A nearby deputy was sent with an automatic external defibrillator.
So I responded lights and sirens to get there.
When Deputy Ryan Sprecher arrived, it did not look good.
When I got there, I thought Mr. Buckingham was deceased. The way he looked, there was nothing that would indicate life at that point.
No shock advised.
But Deputy Sprecher's AED detected a slight pulse and recommended compressions continue. The two worked tirelessly. Because of that, Daryl is here today.
Every day, better,
He's on the mend after the heart attack and stroke that started it all.
Trying to stay in the therapy to keep things going and stuff to recover as much as possible. Enjoy trying to make every day count afterwards from being lucky.
Lucky, he says, because two heroes saved his life and put him on the road to recovery.
And I'm thankful for those guys, for all they've done.
I hope someone would do the same for me as I did for them. I was just in the right place at the right time.
This is one of the most memorable calls I've had. The community's involvement, my involvement, fire department's involvement, it was just a good team effort, and we had a positive outcome.
That is just what it's all about. People who are prepared and coming together as a community. And you guys, it's not even 9 yet, and I've already cried and laughed and felt inspired and empowered this morning. I really hope you have too. I would call it a day, but now I need to register for CPR training and investigate about how and where and when I can donate some blood. Just imagine what kind of impact this event would have if we all put those things on our to-do lists and how many lives we could all potentially save. There might even be a future honoree listening right now, someone who's going to use their training to save the life of a stranger, but even more likely the life of someone that they love. There is still time to make a financial contribution to the mission of the American Red Cross. And if you haven't yet, I really hope that you will. And thank you again to our sponsors and fundraising champions for your commitment to the Red Cross. We so appreciate it. And congratulations to our 2021 King County Heroes Breakfast honorees. We are forever indebted to you and the impact that you've had on our community. And thank you for allowing us to share your stories this morning. I hope all of you will keep the recognition going by sharing what you've seen and heard and felt with your friends. It makes such a difference when they hear it from you. And I encourage you to connect with others and discuss how you can get involved with the American Red Cross, an organization that we are all so happy to support. Remember, each of you is also an everyday hero just by being here today, enjoying this program a little early in the morning, and all the support that you've lent. Thank you once again for celebrating the 35th annual King County Heroes Breakfast. Like Alex said, next year, hopefully we will be together again. Hopefully it can be come as you are. And even if you're just in pajamas from the waist down, that's okay. We love it. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Have a great day.